northeast of Dulac, just west of Chauvin. This is going to continue moving north and west toward the Terrio area. And again, while these tropical tornadoes are generally considered to be brief and generally are going to be fairly difficult to see, especially this far away from the radar, because they are tropical in nature, one thing that we can expect is that they'll be short-lived most likely and not likely to be as strong as a typical tornado during severe season. However, they are still to be respected. So if you live in this area near Terrio, just on the western side of Houma, just north of Dulac, I want you to go ahead and get in your safe place. Your safe place could be away from windows on a first floor. Certainly want to be inside a sturdy structure. So a lot of folks have been calling me recently over the past couple of days with concerns about Laura, saying I live in a mobile home or I live in a trailer. Those are not safe places to be when a tornado warning is issued. So I've been suggesting that while evacuations weren't necessarily called for much of our area, in the event of a tornado, you do need to seek shelter in a sturdy structure. And that's something you need to have a plan in your mind for before that tornado warning is issued. So again, we're looking at our velocity product here. Here's where I think that rotation is. It's going to continue to move north and west, and I expect that we will see the potential for some heavy rain and gusty winds with this as well. So let's go ahead and just switch it back to our reflectivity. I'm just stepping off screen here to drive Viper. Again, heavy rain all along from a line basically at the southern tip of Lafourche, stretching up through Dulac and Chauvin, and then over just south of Morgan City, some of that heavy rain. Now, this is just the first band of Hurricane Laura that has reached the coast. We are also seeing some showers and storms developing north of that, so I want to zoom in on those. You can see Raceland, Lockport seeing some rain right now. Also seeing some rain near Pankrattville and Napoleonville. Looking farther north, we had a couple of tornado warnings pop up in the Baton Rouge area. Those both have since expired. Again, these things usually do not last long, but you can see those showers really don't look too impressive, but because of the nature of the storm and the friction that is caused as these bands come ashore, that can lead to these little tropical spin-ups that we're talking about. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect right now, in addition to that tornado warning that we talked about. I want to go ahead and zoom out, keep talking about the big picture here, because these little tropical spin-ups are going to keep popping up. If your phone just got dinged and you're tuning in for the tornado warning, again, it's right here just to the southwest of Houma, north of Dulac, where that rotation is potentially occurring. These, again, are going to be fairly weak tornadoes, but a tornado nonetheless. You need to respect it and make sure you take shelter appropriately, but also fairly short-lived. So again, that warning goes through 12:45, but I believe both of the warnings that were issued earlier by the National Weather Service were allowed to expire earlier. So we'll keep an eye on that rotation, but the big picture right now, looking down, see that rotation there? That's Laura. That's the eye of Laura. And so you can see these outer bands that are going to be whipping in, the radar beam shooting down from Slidell. So, I mean, it's really a stretch there to be able to see that eye. But we are starting to see it. And again, as I said earlier, this is one of those things, once you start looking at the storm on radar, that means it's getting really close. And we are going to see the movement northwest at 16 miles per hour. The satellite image really gives you a picture of the entire storm, right? Those radar images only able to be seen from our radar beam from land. So the satellite image being taken from space really shows the impressiveness of this storm. Now, we're watching this eye wall. What we're watching for is any potential change in it that would indicate strengthening or weakening. Sometimes you have what we call an eye wall replacement cycle, and that's a lot of words just to say that inner eye wall gets so strong and tight that storms start to form around it, forming what we call an outer eye wall. And as that outer eye wall tries to condense in, it can actually weaken the storm briefly. Once it takes over, that's when the storm can re-intensify and even become stronger. Right now, I'm not seeing that. What I am seeing is that eye is very well formed, but when you have strong storms like this, they generally can't maintain that strength forever without doing those eye wall replacement cycles. So I would expect that we see one of those. If we see one right before landfall, that could serve to weaken this thing a little bit. Unfortunately, it's expected to strengthen into a Category 4, so any weakening would still likely keep it a major hurricane upon landfall. Looking in a little bit closer, again, just taking another look at radar. I do want to go back down to Viper radar here, and I'm gonna switch my computer over because I want to keep an eye on that tornado warning that we have down south in Terrebonne Parish for the most part. I think it just barely clips parts of Lafourche, but you can see here some heavy rain. Switching it over to our velocity product, again, I'm not seeing much of a rotation there. It's very weak, if so, just north and east of Theriot. I'll go ahead and circle that for you. You can see that would be kind of the area of rotation that we're talking about. This is going to continue moving north, likely north and east, north and west, I should say, and then we'll go ahead and put that into motion and freeze that once again. Let's see if that shear path is picking up on anything. Looks like there may be just a little area, again, where we're seeing right there south of Dulac in this area that I'm circling here. Might have been what prompted the tornado warning, and then maybe a little shear as we watch that potentially track. So I do want folks there to be careful. I want you to take shelter if you're under that tornado warning, but also I want to keep on discussing Laura, which again is going to prompt more situations like this as we go forward. Let's go ahead and take one more satellite look at Laura. We'll talk about the wind advisory and some of the other impacts we could see from Laura, and then we can continue on with the news program until we check back in on that warning. But let's go ahead at this tropical satellite. You can see right now that wind, or rather live radar, I was trying to show you that wind advisory. There it is. The wind advisory will go through 7 p.m. Now, the reason you're seeing spots like St. Bernard, Northern Jefferson, Orleans, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and the river parishes included in this, but not the bayou parishes, is because the bayou parishes are under a tropical storm warning. That means the winds there could be even stronger. I would say we're looking at the potential to see 40 to 50 mile per hour winds along the coast. Some gusts even higher. And then here we're looking at 30 to 40 mile per hour winds and gusts a little bit higher. That said, I mean, look at Laura, 125 mile per hour winds, gusts up to 155. So while we're expecting it to be pretty gusty around here, and at times there may even be a few power outages across the area, what's going on to our west is going to be absolutely devastating. Let me go ahead and show you the impacts timeline here. We're already starting to see a few spin-ups, so tornadoes are possible as we go through this evening and into tonight through tomorrow morning, I'd say. Once Laura makes landfall and continues to move north, I expect that that will become less of a threat, and heavy rain may be our bigger problem tomorrow. Damaging winds, again, we could see some storms that produce those strong winds. We could also see the bands themselves producing some strong winds, so that'll be something we're watching for. As far as storm surge, I know that we've been getting a lot of questions. Liz has been mentioning to me a lot of questions about Venetian Isles specifically. Had a couple of calls as well. Right now, for that area, we're looking at about 3 to 5 feet. I would expect that south-facing shores will see the bigger issue. That includes the north side of Lake Pontchartrain. We are expecting to see 2 to 4 feet in the lake. Along our south-facing shores, up to about 6 or 7 feet possible. Now, the reason I say this is going to be a persistent problem is because that surge is going to come in today and tonight ahead of landfall, but then Laura is going to keep that strong onshore flow going, and that's going to last through Friday and into Saturday. Again, tornadoes are possible, and we do have a tornado warning in effect right now. Let's go ahead and get to that warning just one more time for you before I toss it back to Liz, because again, this is a fairly difficult to see tornado in the sense that it's probably not producing extremely strong winds right now, but I still want folks in this area just southwest of Houma to certainly take shelter. Viper radar again showing, do we have Viper up here? Let's make sure that that's up so that I can show you one more time that heavy rain band that we are watching right now, stretching from lower Lafourche through Terrebonne Parish. That's going to be one of the outer bands of Laura. And then looking at that tornado warning again, you see they're just north of Theriot, moving toward Mandalay, switching it over to our velocity product again, possibly a little bit of rotation there. So I'm just going to go read up on a couple of little things here, Liz, and I will be right back with more on this.
Okay, thanks a lot there, Shelby. Well, you know, we could face more storms this hurricane season, so just ahead, we're going to get some tips from the Red Cross on what you should pick up and have in your emergency hurricane bag.